Hello and welcome to Motion Graphics Basic Training. This is part 4 of a 6-part tutorial series where I'll be teaching you how to create this. In the last tutorial, we learned how to create our main scene inside Illustrator. In this one, let's look at creating our badge. I'm Arun Gopidas and let's get started. Today we'll be looking at how to create that badge inside Illustrator. So let's get started. So first we'll go to create new and we'll make a artboard or a document which is 900 pixels by 900 pixels, and we'll make sure it's an RGB color and we'll hit create. And now here is our artboard. So to begin things, we'll go into a rectangle tool and hold it down, and then go into the ellipse tool and go to the center of the artboard and make a circle. I'll make a circle by clicking and dragging outwards while I press Alt and Shift on the keyboard. And I think right about there seems good enough to me. And I'll press the selection tool to get out, and now I can see the circle. Now, one of the first things that I want to do at this point is to make sure the circle is aligned in the center, even though I drew the circle from the center. So I'll click on the circle and I'll go into my align tool and then make it align to artboard and click on the horizontal center and the vertical center to make sure my circle is in the center. Now the next thing I want to do is write the text. So for that I'll press T or go to the text tool and type in basic training. Now I'll select it by pressing Ctrl A. I'll go into my selection tool and I'll just increase the size. And I press Shift so that it snaps into place, and I'll change the font to Modern Society. I'll link the font in the description, and now I'll just make it slightly smaller by going into my character toolbar, and so that the lines have the same width, and I don't want so much space between the letters, so I'll just go into my leading and I'll make it slightly lesser. So I think that looks pretty neat to me. And I want to make sure my text is also aligned to the center. So I'll go into my align to artboard and align centers. Okay, that seems like a good start. So the next thing that we want to do is create another circle. For that I'll just copy my old circle by pressing Ctrl C and then paste it by pressing Ctrl Shift V or edit paste in place. And then I'll go to my corner and press Alt and Shift and just drag it down. Okay, so I don't need the fill inside it so that I can see the text. So I'll go into my fill and I'll press this icon over here. And I think I'll make it slightly bigger. Make sure you're pressing Alt and Shift. Okay, this seems good. So I'll copy the circle again and shift it in place again. And I'll make it slightly bigger, and then I'll make another copy and again paste in place, which is Ctrl Shift V, and then make it slightly smaller. So I think that forms the basic part of our circle. So next what we want to do is create the stars. So for that we'll go into a circle tool and go into the star tool, and I'll go and click and drag over here. So now I have that cool circle, but I want to make sure it's in the center of the artboard again. So I'll go to my artboard and click on the vertical center, and I'll just eyeball this one. I'll move it slightly to the right, and then I'll create a copy of this, paste it in place and drag it while I press Shift to the other side, and I'll eyeball this one as well. There are ways to make this perfectly aligned in the center, but I'm not going to get into it right now. So the next thing that we want to do is write the text over here and at the bottom. So for that we are going to grab this circle and copy it. That is edit and copy. We're not going to paste it anywhere right now. And then we'll select the circle, go into our direct selection tool and click and delete the bottommost point, so that now we have only a semicircle. And now we'll paste it in place again, which is edit paste in place, so we get a circle back. And now we'll go to the top point and delete that. So we have one circle at the top and one circle at the bottom. Okay, Now what we need to do is create the text. So for that I'll go into my text tool and click on my path and write motion graphics. So some of my text is behind this layer, inside this circle, but we'll get it out. For that we'll go to the direct selection tool and click on this line and wait till that cursor changes. So right now my cursor has changed to that arrow, and now I can click and drag to the starting point, and the end point seems to be at the right place. And now I'll just go into my paragraph tool and center align it. So now I want the text to start a little earlier and end a little later. For that I'll increase the space between these letters. So I can just go into my tracking tool over here and increase it slightly till I get that. I think that seems good enough to me. And I think the space at the top and bottom also seem fine. 106 is the size it's at. And now what we need to do is we can copy and paste it, but it becomes quite a hassle to do that. So I just click on the path at the bottom and write motion graphics again. Now I don't want to set everything again, so I'll just press Ctrl A or Command A and then go to my eyedropper tool and click on the top text. So now it has all the characteristics of this text, and now I'll go into my direct selection tool and get the starting point to the starting of the line. So now I have most of the shapes in place. Now I just want to add some lines over here. So before I do that, I'll just create another layer at this point because it will just be easier for me to work that way. So I'll go to my layers panel, I'll create a new layer and I'll copy this circle, or I'll rather cut this circle and paste it in layer number 2. And that's where we are going to start working. I'll lock this layer so that I can't select it by mistake. And now I need to go and make a line. So I'll go to the pen tool, I'll wait till I get this pink line so that I know it's at the center and draw a line. It doesn't need to be so big, so I'll just press A, the direct selection tool, click on the point and get it inside. Similarly, I'll click on this point and get it inside as well. So now I have this line, I want to make sure it's center aligned. So I'll go to my artboard, center align and vertical align, and now it's at the center. Now what we want to do is we want to make multiple copies of this. So I right click this, go into my transform tool and go to rotate, and I'll switch the preview button to be on and I'll rotate it by 5 degrees. And I press tab so that I can see what's happening. So I can get out of this, and I think that seems good enough to me, 5 degrees. And I'll copy it and I'll press Ctrl D on the keyboard again and again till I make the complete circle. So now we have the entire circle which we have made. And now I want to talk about something very important. So this is a process which is common between a lot of different softwares, and it's called masking. So what masking really means is that the front object masks the back object. So my back object is only visible through the area of my front object. So if I have this circle and I change it back to fill by clicking on this icon and then right clicking, and I'll arrange bring to front. So now if I mask this circle with these lines, the lines which are inside the area of this are only going to be visible. Anything outside the circle will not be visible. So what I'll do is I'll select all of them together and I'll click on my circle so that the circle is not selected. Now I'll right click and group it. And then I'll just make sure once again that these lines are at the back. So I'll just send it to back. And now I can select both of them together and press Ctrl 7 or Command 7 on my keyboard. And now we have masked it. So the line is only visible inside the circle. So the lines are still there, and if you want to see the lines, all you have to do is double click it and you'll be inside the group. And you can double click it again to see the lines. So here is the structure. So layer 1, so we are inside layer 2, inside the clip group, and inside that there's a group. And that's what we are on right now. So if you click on clip group, we'll be one level back. And if we click it again, we'll be one level inside. So that's about it. And we can press this arrow over here to go back to our main layer. And I think we've done most of the things that we need to do. I think I'll just go to my layer 1, unlock it, go to my star and then press the left button on my keyboard and I'll bring it in, and same with the right star and get it in. Okay, so that seems pretty good. So now the only issue is that I don't want these lines behind the text. So we'll take care of this issue inside After Effects because I think it's easier to do it over there. So what we are going to do is help make an intermediate step. So what we are going to do is make something that we can use in After Effects later. So what I'll do is I'll create a rectangle which goes from left to right covering the text, and I'll align it to the center. And what I'm trying to do is make a mask again, but this mask will be used in After Effects. So now what we'll do is we'll click on our text and arrange and bring to front. And now we'll select our rectangle again, go to our eyedropper tool and select white. So this seems right, but the order of the layers is incorrect. That's why it looks wrong over here. So I'll just go to my text layer and I'll cut it, and then I'll go to my layer 2 and click on this new layer icon and I'll paste it in place by edit, paste in place. And then I'll go to my layer 1 again. Now I'll select my rectangle and hit Ctrl X, and then I'll go to my layer 2 and click on create new layer so that I'm dropping this rectangle between my circle, this spoke lines and my text. So when I press Ctrl Shift V, now that text is hidden. So now some other things would have been missed out, like this circle, this line over here that we have. So we'll fix all of that in just about a bit. So the first thing that we want to do is I want to hide this and hide this. Now what I want to do is change the stroke on the circle. For that I'll go to my stroke tool over here and I'll make it into a dashed line. So now my line has become a dashed line. So now I don't want dashes, but rather I want dots. So what I'll do is I'll make this 12 pt dash into a 1 pt dash, and now we have these extremely small circles. And we don't want them to be so close to each other either. So we'll go to stroke and make the gap to be around 10 pt. So I think that seems fine to me. I think maybe 8 would look better. And I'll increase the stroke to 2 and I'll increase the stroke size to 2. And I'll just turn on the round caps and the round joints. And I think that should give me a pretty good result. Maybe I'll make it 1. Okay, that seems good to me. Okay, so we're done with this as well. So I think we are almost done with this tutorial now. The only thing that we need to do is color it and break it apart into multiple layers. So I'll click on this motion graphics text over here, I'll cut it and I'll make a new layer, paste it in that, and I'll just drag this layer on top, and I'll do the same with this. I'll cut it and I'll go to a new layer and paste it in place over there. I'll take my 1 star and put it over there, take another star, put it in another layer, and I'll take this line that we created. So if you're not able to select something, we can just hide it so that it's easier to select the other things. I'll cut it from here and I'll paste it here. And this I button is what makes it invisible and hidden and unhidden. Okay, I think that seems good to me. So now the only thing left is to color everything. So we'll go to our selection tool and select our outermost circle. And we don't want any stroke on this anymore, and we'll double click on the fill and change the value to F20574 and press enter. So now we have this bright pink circle, and we'll go to our direct selection tool because it's easier to select that way, and I'll click on this rectangle, go into my eyedropper tool and pick this color. Now the next thing that we need to do is select the text, this other text, the star and this star. I can select multiple of them together by pressing shift, and I'll double click the fill and I'll change it to BC005E. Now we have this dark pink for that. Now if you notice, my stars have a stroke as well. So I'll click on both my stars and I'll go into my outline and I'll click on this button. So now that stroke is gone. Now we press on this text that we have in the middle and go into my eyedropper tool and select white for that. And then I'll go into my, so let's select this one first, this outer circle, and I'll change this to BC005E, and I'll just copy it, this number, so I don't have to enter it again and again. Okay, I don't think that happened. Okay, now it's the darker pink. And now we'll go into my lines. I'll double click it to get inside it and double click again, and then press Ctrl A and then change this to BC005E. And I think that brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I'll just rename my layers one so that's easy for me to understand later. So I'll make this as background. I can double click to rename it, and I'll double click and make this as spoked lines. This is my spoke line hider, and this is my bottom motion graphics, and this is my top motion graphics. I can hide it to see which layer I'm on because the stars look similar. So this is my right star, and this has to be my left star, and this has to be my dotted circle, and this has to be basic training. So there's one more thing that we need to do, and I'll explain why we did this in detail when I go to animating this. But for now, I can just press on this outer circle and press Ctrl C to make a copy. And then I'll go at the very top and I'll make a new layer and paste it over there. And what I need to do now is I want to cut this circle into half. And now I'll create a rectangle which can cut my circle in half. And I'll just go to my circle again and I hit Ctrl C or edit copy, and I'll select both of these things together and do minus front, so I only have the top part of the circle, and I'll press Ctrl Shift V again so that I get the circle again. Now I'll create a rectangle which hits the center of my circle, and now I can see that it's not in the center because the center is actually over here. So I'll just bring it up a little bit. So now it intersects at the center, and now I'll select both of them together and hit minus front. And so now we have the bottom of the circle as well. And I'll select both together and I'll probably change the color to say green. Okay, that's too bright. And I'll change the color to green, or it could be any other color as well. Let's make it blue, or this green. Okay, so now what we need to do is I need to select one of the circles, hit Ctrl X, create a new layer and paste it in place over there. And for now we can hide both of these layers, but we need it when we go into After Effects. So I rename this as bottom circle and I rename this one as top circle. And now all we need to do is just save this file. So I'll press Ctrl Shift S and then I'll go to my T4 and I'll rename this as badge. And we are done with this. And that brings us to the end of part 4. In the next tutorial, we'll learn how to animate whatever we have created in Illustrator so far. So it's going to be really exciting, so don't miss out on the next one. And consider subscribing to my YouTube channel if you liked it, and I'll see you very soon.